Okay, so you shared this really interesting article with us featuring Gawdat on AI's future. Really got me thinking.
Oh, yeah, that one. Gawdat, for those maybe not familiar, he was the chief business officer at Google X, right?
Exactly. Goals like Moonshot Division.
Yeah,
And he wrote Scary Smart. So definitely someone who's been deep in the tech world.
for sure. And what struck me about the article wasn't just the usual, robots taking jobs angle.
Right.
He goes much bigger. He's talking about like a fundamental reshaping of, well, everything, civilization, basically.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
The article really lays it out there from the start, this idea that AI is moving so incredibly fast.
Unprecedented speed, yeah.
And maybe we're just not ready for the consequences, which, like you said, go way beyond just job losses.
Absolutely.
So I guess our mission here for this deep dive is to really pull out the key stuff from Gawdat's perspective. What does he see as the critical points in this rapid AI evolution and what it means for us?
Okay, let's get into it. He starts with this analogy, describing the current global situation as a fog of war. What did you take from that?
Well, for me, that fag of war really nails the feeling of disorientation. There's so much change happening so fast, it's hard to see clearly.
Right, like you can't get your bearings.
Exactly. And his point seems to be that while we worry about the obvious stuff, like jobs, the maybe deeper threats are more subtle. Things attacking our beliefs, our
A
values.
sense of self, even.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just tech disruption, it's human disruption almost.
That's a good way to put it, that the ground is shifting under us. And then he connects this uncertainty to this idea of a Cold War 2.0, specifically U.S. versus China. What was interesting there?
Well, the really interesting bit is his claim that AI is now the main battlefield. It's not just about economics or military anymore.
It's about AI dominance.
Right. And even more thought-provoking is his suggestion that maybe our Western perspective,
Yeah.
biases even, might be stopping us from really seeing China's AI strategy clearly.
That's a check on our own assumptions, isn't it? Are we missing the picture because of how we see the world?
Could be. It definitely makes you think. Then he shifts gears a bit, talking about AI itself,
Yeah.
using that genie analogy.
Yes, the morally neutral genie. Why is that distinction so important, do you think?
Well, it frames AI as this super powerful tool, right?
Mhm.
It can do amazing things, grant wishes almost,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have its own morals, no good or bad intentions.
It just follows instructions.
Exactly. And that's crucial because it puts the focus back on us.
Mhm.
We're the ones making the wishes, guiding the genie. The responsibility is ours.
And related to that power, he mentions a pretty alarming statistic about existential risk. What was that figure again?
Yeah, that definitely gives you pause. He throws out a 10 to 20% chance of AI leading to like an existential catastrophe.
Yeah, wow. 10 to 20%.
Now, you can debate the exact number, sure, but his point is, even if it's in that range, that's like playing Russian roulette with humanity, right?
It absolutely demands attention at that level. It's not just an inconvenience, it's potentially game over.
Yeah, and that leads right into his argument about where the immediate danger is. It's not quite Skynet waking up, is it?
Not yet, according to him. He's pretty clear. The near-term threat isn't some rogue superintelligence.
It's us.
It's us. It's human flaws, greed, poor ethics, power grabs, and how we decide to use this powerful AI. That's what could lead to a pretty dystopian situation, he argues.
And he actually has a framework for thinking about that dystopia, doesn't he? That acronym, FACE Rewrite P.
Right, face rewrite P. Let's maybe break that down. F is for freedom.
Okay, yeah, freedom. So his point is AI is already changing what freedom means, especially, in places with heavy surveillance or even just with all the data collection happening everywhere, surveillance capitalism, he calls it.
So our data being used constantly.
Yeah. How does that impact our actual liberty? It's a deep question.
Definitely. Okay, next is A, accountability. What's the issue there?
Accountability is a massive headache. Basically, as AI gets smarter and makes more decisions, who's responsible when it messes up?
Right. If a self-driving car crashes or an AI diagnosis is wrong.
Who do you blame? The programmer, the owner, the AI itself.
Yeah.
We just don't have the rules figured out.
And that lack of clear responsibility is dangerous.
Totally. Okay, C is connection. This one feels very now.
Yeah, connection. He's worried about AI eroding genuine human bonds, empathy.
Like, we interact so much through screens and algorithms already.
What does that do to our ability to actually connect deeply with other people? It's a real concern.
It is. All right, then D is economics. And his prediction here is Pretty stark.
Yeah, economics. He sees this massive concentration of wealth coming, basically the people who own the big AI
They
platforms.
get unbelievably rich.
Right. He calls it economic feudalism, a tiny elite holding almost all the economic power, which just makes inequality way worse.
Okay, next. R for reality. This feels incredibly relevant with deepfakes and all that.
Oh, absolutely. R for reality. How AI makes it harder and harder to tell what's real.
Fake videos, targeted propaganda, stuff that looks totally genuine.
Exactly. How do we make good decisions if we can't even agree on basic reality anymore? It's a huge challenge for society.
No kidding. Okay, is for innovation and intelligence. What's the core worry here?
So innovation and intelligence, the concern is AI doesn't just help us, it eventually surpasses us in lots of areas, even highly skilled jobs.
All right, displacing not just manual labor, but intellectual work too.
Which forces us to ask, what's our purpose then, if AI is just smarter?
Heavy stuff. And
Oh.
finally, P is for power. This ties back to the global competition thing, yeah.
Definitely. P for power. It's about how global influence shifts towards whoever controls the best AI.
The big countries could be giant tech companies.
Exactly. Who holds the reins and how do they use that power? Big questions.
And he suggests looking at these face RIP elements in pairs, right, to see how they feed into each other.
Yeah, that's a really neat insight, like link innovation and economics, faster AI innovation,
And is more wealth concentrated with the AI owners.
which widens the economic gap. Or think about power and reality
If you have the AI power, you can potentially control the information flow.
and shape people's perception of reality. It shows how these things could create nasty feedback loops.
Wow, okay. He also uses this historical analogy, right? Hunters, farmers, industrialists, to show the scale of this economic shift.
Yeah, walk us through that. It's pretty striking.
Okay, so he basically says, look back. The best hunter fed the tribe. The best farmer got land and influence.
Right.
The top industrialists, they became millionaires. The big figures in the information age, billionaires.
Okay, following so far.
Now, with AI platforms, he's saying to people controlling those, they're potentially looking at becoming trillionaires.
Trillionaires, that's a
Yep.
whole other level of wealth concentration.
Exactly. An exponential jump we've just never seen.
And that leads him to talk about this digital feudal system idea and his worries about universal basic income, UBI.
Yeah, what's the concern with UBI? Isn't that supposed to help?
Well, his worry isn't UBI itself necessarily. It's UBI in a world run by this tiny digital aristocracy.
Oh, okay.
If just a few entities own all the intelligent soil, the AI, and everyone else just gets a basic income to survive, does that undermine dignity, purpose?
So even if your basic needs are met, if you have no autonomy, no real agency,
Yeah, does it become a gilded cage? Does it actually reduce freedom even with the income? It needs careful thought, he argues.
okay, this is huge. And maybe the most mind-bending part is the sheer speed, the exponential growth of AI. What were those numbers again?
It's staggering. The article mentioned AI power doubling roughly every 5.7 months. Gawdat uses a similar figure, like 5.9 months.
Doubling every 6 months, basically.
Much. Which means, and this is the key, it could quadruple in power within a year.
Quadruple in 1 year.
And that's now, before we even factor in things like quantum computing breakthroughs or AI teaching itself to get smarter, faster.
Right, which just accelerates it even more.
And why is that exponential curve so important and maybe dangerous in his view?
Because we humans, we think linearly, right? Step by step. We're just not built to intuitively grasp exponential growth.
That curve that shoots almost straight up.
Exactly. Our intuition can't keep up, so we could be totally blindsided by how capable AI becomes really, really quickly. We might just not be able to adapt fast enough.
Which, naturally, leads to that idea, the one, Tom Bill, you brought up and Gawdat seemed to agree with, AI becoming godlike. That sounds like sci-fi.
It does sound like pure sci-fi, but Gawdat is serious. He says, look, given the speed and the lack of strong global rules or ethics,
It's not impossible.
he thinks it's a potential reality, not just fantasy. If we don't change course on how we're developing and governing it. Yeah, incredibly sobering.
Wow. Okay, so considering all these risks, this speed, this potential, what's Gawdat's main call to action? What's he telling us to do?
His message is really urgent. He points out how humanity usually waits for a crisis before acting.
Like with the pandemic, maybe? We saw the signs but didn't fully prepare.
Exactly that parallel. He's basically yelling, prepare NW with AI. Because, he argues, if we let things slide into a really bad dystopian scenario,
It might be impossible to pull back.
yeah, we might not get a do-over. So act thoughtfully, proactively, before it's too late.
So wrapping this all up then, what's the single biggest takeaway for you from Gawdat's analysis in this piece?
I think the core thing is, this isn't just another tech trend. Gawdat forces us to see AI advancement as this massive fundamental shift for society.
With potentially irreversible consequences.
Right. And that we have this window, maybe a small one, to actually try and shape it for the better instead of just getting hit by the wave. It's a huge challenge he's putting out there.
It really is. And that leaves a pretty big question for everyone listening, doesn't it? Well, given this potential for godlike AI, given this breakneck speed, what changes to our society, our ethics, our rules? What do you think are the most critical things we need to think about, like right now, today? And maybe what's your own role in navigating all this change that's coming?
That's like some heavy things to chew on. We really recommend checking out the full article for all the details. We'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, worth the read.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.